What's up, fam? Welcome to another Black Talk Radio News commentary. Of course, my name is Scotty Reed. I wanted to bring to your attention a story about mental health. I did not even realize it was mental health awareness, but that was brought to my attention by these stories. So the first story that we want to take a look at and highlight mental health issues, especially among professional athletes. But you have MSNBC and some other outlets that are reporting that Naomi Osaka withdrew from the French Open a day after she got fined $15,000 by tennis officials because she said she wouldn't do media interviews because she has mental health issues. And she's spoken before about the anxiety that she feels. And she said that she only wants to play tennis in this instance, and due to her mental health issue, she'll be skipping the portion of where you speak to the press. Again, this is mental health awareness, and it is good to see that the tennis fans are having her back, or society in general seems to be supportive of her decision to put her mental health above that of making money and playing tennis and performing for people at the French Open, that she put her mental health first. And let's be real, she's afforded that privilege to do that because of her financial security that she has. But how many of us, the regular people, our mental health suffers because of what we have to deal with on the jobs? Things like workplace racism in the case of non-white people, whether it is pay inequality, just sexual harassment. It could be a number of issues on the job that's affecting your mental health, but you just can't say, well, for mental health concerns, I'm going to take a week off, because you're not going to get paid. And if you don't get paid, you may not eat. So it is good to see an example being set by Naomi in this instance of focusing on her own mental health. So we have to do what we have to do. But like I was saying, support is strong for her. She, as you can see from screenshots, I support her in her decision. Her mental health is way more important than any of these tournaments. And I'm super glad that she has spoken and let them know which one she values the most, her mental health and well-being, Miss Jordan said. Then we have Harjo saying that, so during the month of mental health awareness, someone with a mental health issue is fined because she didn't feel she should be forced to forego her own well-being to promote the sport. She is a tennis player. She played and won. That's her job and was done. I support her. And lastly, mental health is real. Respect her for what she needs in order to maintain her health. Support you 100%. So, that's good to see. Those comments, although I'm sure you'll have your detractors, because again, we're talking about sports, and when you're talking about sports, a lot of the shenanigans and abusive behavior, whether it's from coaches or fellow players, they want to excuse that as they're building up mental toughness in someone, or someone to be a victim of abuse and accept it and think that, it's actually helping them to be mentally tough and what have you, by not, getting help for their mental health needs and getting help for those things. So it's good to see that. Now, again, mental health awareness in this story reminded me of Kwame Brown. And as I was reading Naomi's story and her dropping out of the French Open during Mental Health Awareness Month because of her mental health issues, and that's just a coincidence, I'm sure, but it is a much needed discussion to be had, because when I listen to Kwame Brown, who just talked about the workplace abuse that he suffered at the hands of players, coaches, and he also talked about some of the support, but just how abusive that situation was for him as an 18-year-old, 17, 18-year-old coming right out of high school. And then you had these older men at that point, bullying him and threatening him and things of that nature. Now, I'm sure that impacted his mental health. And you know how I can tell? And I don't mean this as a dig at Kwame Brown, and I support him speaking out on that past abuse that he suffered and how we have to, get this bullying out the workplace, especially in sports, and not excuse it, abuse of players and even children, and call it making them mentally tough. But Kwame Brown seems to be suffering, mental health issues. I certainly question, him supporting the Blue Lives Matter crowd, which basically came out in opposition to a movement to highlight black people being murdered by police. I wish there would be a broader emergence of a movement that just focuses on all the victims of police violence, because there's a whole lot of them outside of black people. But that Blue Lives Matter is in direct opposition to Black lives, and there's history to that going all the way back. He played in L.A. The L.A. police chief back during the 50s came up with that terminology, saying the police is the thin line between law and order, between order and chaos. And of course, he was enforcing oppressive policies that led to the Watts uprising and the formation of the Black Panther Party, because of how treacherous the police were. That's where that Blue Lives Matter stuff traces back to. When you see them cops or their supporters with them face masks with the thin blue line, or those black and gray copies of the American flag, all of that is connected to racism in policing. That's the roots. Okay. And it's more than just about racism. It's also about enforcing, laws that may not be just. Cause again, this guy's back in the 50s enforcing Jim Crow, legal racial segregation, or I should say racial mistreatment. Okay. And so Kwame Brown supporting people like that. I heard he coming out in defense and supporting Candace Owens, who seems to have some mental health issues herself, with her saying, opposing reparations, or not even reparations, but she was at the HR 40 hearing speaking out against forming a committee just to study the ideal. Okay. So I question the mental health of people like that, and who come out and say, oh, we can't blame everything on the white people. No, we can't. But there is a lot they can be blamed for. But when you're talking about reparations, you're talking about the U.S. government. Okay, you're talking about a corporate entity, and that just goes to show you how a lot of white people, these flags and stuff represent whiteness. That American flag don't mean the same to everybody. That's what Colin Kaepernick was saying. Again, speaking of workplace abuse and speaking of people speaking out on mental health issues, and certainly racism is a mental health issue for its victims. So, I just thought I would just add my commentary on, kudos to Naomi Osaka for, again, acknowledging that she was in a financial position to, just skip the French Open. But Kwame talked about he took all that abuse so that he can get another check. And of course, they say he made up to $60 million or whatnot. But how much is your mental health worth? How much are you willing to sacrifice just to have money? So anyway, peace and blessings to all. Subscribe if you like the content, share it, and please make a donation to the nonprofit Black Talk Media Project, because we certainly are not getting any kind of loot from these platforms that you see our content on. Peace and blessings to all. Y'all be safe.